The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy is known as one of the best shows of the Cartoon Network Golden Age. And if you're like me, it's easily one of your favorite shows alongside the greats like Courage the Cowardly Dog. And as much as we love this show, it was sadly canceled back in 2007. But why? Everything was going smooth on the surface. The show was being watched by 1.5 to 2 million people per episode on average. Reviews were steady and in line with previous seasons. But as time went on, things were taking a dark turn. So let's go through the show's production story and find out why the hell a show as good as The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy got canceled. The creative roots of Billy and Mandy can be traced back to the creator Maxwell Adams' student work over at the University of Arts in Philly, more specifically his junior year thesis. There he came up with the idea of having two kids meet some kind of strange force. Strange being the operative word here. The first short he whipped up with those kids involved drilling into each other's skulls. Look at this. The short was called Billy and Mandy and Trepanation of the Skull and You, which you can watch on Maxwell Adams' YouTube channel if you want to watch the full 2-minute short. After this though, Adams kinda leaves the idea parked while he goes on his own animation journey, working for Cartoon Network on shows like Cow and Chicken and I Am Weasel, which are also extremely weird, but in the best way, obviously. While working as a storyboard artist on those shows, they asked Adams if he had any short ideas to pitch, so he got to work and submitted his shorts and pitch Bibles to the executives in Atlanta. And yes, these are the actual pitch Bibles he used. And after a few months where he almost forgot he submitted anything, he finally heard back. Now, they rejected his sci-fi and superhero idea, but one specific short caught their attention. The original idea was The Devil and Darla Blump. But since Adams had worked on Cow and Chicken, he knew that wasn't going to fly after the controversy surrounding Red Guy.
I think it was called The Devil and Darla Blump or something. That was my temporary title for it, and it was just this sort of surly little girl and the devil. And since I was already working on Cow and Chicken, I knew how much Cartoon Network hated the devil, because I guess it was causing them some sort of problems with certain moms. Can't have the devil in there, so Grim Reaper. That's what I'm going to do. Stick the Grim Reaper in there. I'll put Billy in there. It's going to be great.
So with the executives over at Cartoon Network now on board with Adams' ideas, it was time for a competition Cartoon Network ran called The Big Pick in the year 2000. It's basically a marathon of cartoon pilots, and the audience could vote on what short they wanted to see turned into a series. And this is where Adams met Mr. Warburton, the creator of Kids Next Door, which is another fantastic show, I might add. Here, he also met Greg Miller. No, not that Greg Miller, this Greg Miller, the creator of Whatever Happened to Robot Jones, which, according to Adams, everyone was convinced would win. But to his surprise, his show won. Development started straight away on the series, which at this point was titled Grim and Evil, which had the regular premise of Billy and Mandy with the Grim Reaper and also a little bonus segment. They eventually split the shows into 2 separate half-hour runtimes. Originally, Evil Con Carne was literally the middle cartoon between Billy and Mandy segments. Then Cartoon Network broke them into 2 standalone series. For Billy and Mandy, the premise is simple. You got dumb as bricks boy and a smart but evil little demon girl who meets the Grim Reaper when he comes to collect the soul of Billy's hamster. And to keep the hamster alive, they put their own souls on the line, as any kids would for their pet. From here, the challenge of Limbo begins, and if Grim loses, he's forced to be their best friend.
And now you're our best friend forever!
And obviously, Mandy ensures they win, and the reign of Billy and Mandy was born. Another thing that prompted Adams to split his 2 shows up is that the execs kinda told him that Billy and Mandy had way more long-term appeal. And you gotta admit, they were right here, as much as I don't wanna agree with them. I did like Evil Con Carne a lot, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't really hold a candle to Billy and Mandy. Let's just be honest with each other here.
Coming up next, it's The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy on Boomerang.
Cultural impact. As the series progressed, it seemed to get more and more popular with every episode that aired. Its mix of subversive and insanely absurd horror comedy was sorely needed, with Courage the Cowardly Dog ending in 2002, just a year before Billy and Mandy aired officially. And I think this can be attributed to what Adams has said in interviews and podcasts. He just wanted to push people's buttons and test limits. And he quickly realized that the execs at Cartoon Network would get upset about things like boogers or farts.
He likes
creepy. But things that were just really creepy, they would let go for whatever reason, which is why we got some of the incredible and insane episodes we did, especially in those first few seasons, which evidently led to being canceled 3 separate times.
We did have these big gaps between seasons because we did get canceled 3 times, so...
But clearly they kept bringing it back for a reason. I mean, the show was doing great in not just viewership, but also in terms of industry praise. Billy and Mandy won an Annie Award in 2005 and then 2 Emmys in 2006 and 2007 before going on to have its own TV movie, Billy and Mandy Big Boogie's Adventure, which premiered on the 30th of March 2007. But a run this good was never gonna last forever. All good things come to an end. And the red flags soon started to wave when Cartoon Network had a massive leadership restructure.
You're watching Grim and Evil on Cartoon Network.
Cartoon Network shift in leadership. The cancellation of a long-running animated series can be separated from Cartoon Network's leadership transition in the mid to late 2000s, which created an environment in where brand identity, advertiser relationships, and demographic strategy became increasingly central to programming, seemingly even more so than that matters, like, I don't know, the quality of the shows, whatever. After Jim Samples resigned in 2007, he was replaced with Stuart Snyder, where Animation Magazine describes his appointment and the new leadership structure as built around, quote, animation and digital entertainment assets, end quote. And he had a very different approach he wanted to follow, aggressively engaging in, quote, highly desirable consumers, end quote, through, quote, targeted entertainment experiences, end quote, which clearly points to a strategy that treated youth programming as a cross-platform business. Basically, that's just higher up mumbo jumbo for, we want more ad-friendly content and we want more people watching those ads. And by 2009, there was already a stricter reconfiguration of the programming direction, where Snyder pioneered a move towards older and more profitable viewers through expanded live action and unscripted programs. The golden era of cartoons was over, and it wasn't exactly a good business move either, because duh, it's called Cartoon Network. Cartoon Network! I don't think there's a single person on the planet who prefers the live action era of Cartoon Network over literally any other era. Because again, it's called Cartoon Network.
Now it's the Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. Then it's even more of the Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. This is Cartoon Network.
Conflict with Maxwell Adams. Adams himself, since the cancellation, has come out and explained that things were getting rocky leading up to him being laid off. In a 2021 Tumblr post, Adams wrote that he had been dressed down by a network executive for ruining Cartoon Network's brand. And he characterized the critique as framing Billy and Mandy as an obstacle to a friendlier and more emotionally positive viewing experience. A lot of these hoity-toity business execs saw Grim Adventures as a crude, childish, anti-advertiser show. Or at the very least, this son of a did. Now, sure, the Grim Adventures is a bit in your face. It's unhinged. I mean, it's a show about 2 kids enslaving the Grim Reaper. But it's also a work of art. Sometimes you have to take a step back to truly see how good something is, and that sure is the case here. Still though, the execs were rumored to call the show behind Adams' back the Hateful Fart Cartoon, which, yeah, it's kind of funny, but it's also pretty damning for the show's future when these same bigwigs controlled the wallet and your future and your career. Adams framed this incident as a turning point that coincided with his departure from the network. And although the post was written years after the events, it remains a primary source for understanding how at least one creator felt isolated by the new cold corporate direction of the network. In another Tumblr post, Adams also suggested that he wasn't alone with this poor treatment. He earmarked 2009 as a particularly bad year at the company, where Cartoon Network fired or let go a whole bunch of people. Gendy Tartovsky, the creator of Dexter's Lab and Samurai Jack, Craig McCracken, the creator of Powerpuff Girls, Rob Renzetti, the creator of My Life as a Teenage Robot, and basically the entire Cartoon Institute team. This was the sign of a massive change because the Cartoon Institute was basically supposed to be the new What a Cartoon that eventually then turned into Cartoon Fridays, which, let's be honest, is what made Cartoon Network. Network, Dexter's Lab, Johnny Bravo, Cow and Chicken, I Am Weasel, The Powerpuff Girls, Ed, Ed and Eddie, and Courage the Cowardly Dog all came from Cartoons. This is most of their catalog. Like, these are some of the most memorable franchises of this entire era. So with the Cartoon Institute being the new version of that, with an insanely ambitious goal, 150 shorts in 20 months was exciting. It could have bred a whole new era of Cartoon Network, but that didn't happen. Now, Adams did come out and praise Cartoon Network for allowing him to push his show as far as he did. I guess what saved the show for a long time was the ratings and popularity. Sure, not as ad-friendly, but it had become a flagship staple on the network, and Adams himself even admits they probably took it easy on him.
Now it's the grim adventures of Billy and Mandy. Then it's more of the grim adventures of Billy and Mandy. Then it's more of the grim adventures of Billy and Mandy. Only on Cartoon Network.
Cancellation of the series. Adams actually went more in depth on his MySpace page, saying, quote, "We've been struggling strong now for about 3 years. And before that, we had another 3 years of struggling and flopping and gasping for air as we wriggled our way out of the primordial ooze. And a year or so before that, I did the pilot. All in all, we've survived numerous cancellations, or non-pickups as Cartoon Network likes to say, and finally proven ourselves. By the middle of this year, we'll have 78 half hours in the can, plus a few specials and a TV movie. Not a bad run. 78 half hours is as many half hours as Cartoon Network has made for anything. There's a theory that by the time kids get through 5 or 6 seasons of a show, they've outgrown the series and moved on to bigger and better things. That doesn't mean that Billy and Mandy is done and gone, but it does mean that we won't be making new episodes for the series in the near future. It's the end of an era, but it's also a good thing. When we did our last record a few months ago, Tom Kenny, SpongeBob for all you fans of The Enemy, said something to me that really made me appreciate the long run we've had on Billy and Mandy. His quote was, "You guys are the only show I know of that exists solely because of fan support." And that's absolutely true. From our selection during the big pick to the fact that our 2 funeral parties didn't make the end of our run. So yeah, for now, this is the end, but all things good and bad end sooner or later. The good news is that there are still 10 and a half hours left unseen. The crossover with the kids next door, Billy and Mandy's Big Boogie Adventure, and another hour-long special, Wrath of the Spider Queen, and maybe even a few more treats along the way. Not only that, but there seems to be some marketing going on this year. Will it ruin my indie cred if we get t-shirts or toys? Probably. But would I rather keep my indie cred or die penniless in the gutter? It's a tough call, and those DVD season sets you've been asking about, I can say with some certainty that we're looking at a big fat maybe. And that's pretty good coming from Atlanta. And to be honest, I think that he put it really nicely. I think it's a nice way to look at it. I guess it reframes the whole cancellation thing, but also we know there was plenty more juice in the Grim Adventures fruit, and it was just out of touch execs that didn't understand what they had, which is abundantly clear because we still haven't gotten a complete collection. Let me buy the goddamn DVDs. Hell, we haven't even gotten more than season 1 and some specials, like this Halloween DVD special I managed to snag for Maxwell Adams himself while he was selling some of his Billy and Mandy stuff on eBay. I just want a complete collection that isn't a bootleg copy I had to find on the internet. I think another thing to mention is that the show ended just before the super big push that came to redevelop the network in 2009. Don't get me wrong, things were already happening, but it's not like the Grim Adventures were booted out the door for some live action show. Doesn't make me less mad about it though. So what happened after the series ended?
Coming up on Cartoon Network. Next, The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy.
Aftermath and legacy. So what happened after the series ended? Well, Maxwell Adams obviously didn't stop working in the industry. He's still doing his usual weird horror stuff, working for studios when able. Heck, he was also the director and co-creator for a Disney show called Fish Hooks. But things aren't always sunshine and rainbows. Adams was working on his successfully kickstarted series Dead Meat, but sadly that was shelved indefinitely in 2020 due to legal issues involving union and non-union work that prevented its release. But even though Kickstarter doesn't require it and he wasn't obligated to, Adams refunded all the backers of this project. He also worked in 2016 on another project called Banicula, but he was only in a producing role for the first season before taking a step back in season 2. I guess maybe he misses show running and writing his own stuff. The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy expanded and pushed the boundaries of what children's animation could look and feel like, taking themes like death, the supernatural and existential absurdity and presented them as if it was like a normal day at school. And it resonated with millions of them. You have people like myself making videos like this to this day, and hell, Adult Swim even launched a nostalgia-focused block called Checkered Past that featured classic Cartoon Network series like Billy and Mandy as part of the lineup, indicating that the network is formally curating its past catalog as a brand asset aimed at a multi-generational audience. Adult Swim's expansion and the creation of a dedicated classics block were framed in press coverage as a deliberate programming move that leverages nostalgia and recognizable titles to strengthen audience flow in early evening hours. So basically, a show that was once panned by network execs for not meeting the brand ethos or being advertiser friendly is now a show that's being used by network execs to reframe the entire business. Make it make sense, Cartoon Network. When all is said and done, though, nothing can be taken away from Maxwell Adams. The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy is, in my opinion, the gold standard of cartoons from its era. And we may as well enjoy it while we can before AI shows up to